The microphone was left on during the online lecture. 200 classmates became unwitting eavesdroppers on my fiancé's date with my sorority sister. The next day, he brought up marriage, while she sweetly hinted at her birthday gift. The entire year group watched their performance in silent judgment, not a single soul daring to break the fourth wall and reveal the microphone mishap. They were, unknowingly, my silent Avengers. It was the teaching assistant's problem-solving session today. Over 200 students in the course logged into the virtual meeting, punctual as ever. Though present, few were truly engaged. My roommate, Jessica, and I were also chatting, our attention only half on the lecture. "So, when are you and David finally tying the knot?" Jessica nudged me, a playful glint in her eyes. "Soon, I think," I replied, a smile tugging at my lips. "Probably get our marriage license by the end of the semester." David and I had been together since freshman year. Now, in our second year of graduate school, it was approaching 6 years. Our parents had met, though my own had initially harbored reservations about David's background. His family hailed from a small town in the south. His mother was unemployed, and his father worked odd jobs, making it clear they wouldn't be able to offer much financial support. But David himself was exceptional. Academically brilliant and strikingly handsome, he'd won my parents over with his sincerity and promises to cherish me forever. Heroes are judged by their deeds, not their origins, my father had declared, finally giving his blessing. They'd agreed to cover the house, renovations, car, and wedding expenses. All they wanted was my happiness with David. End of semester marriage license? Looks like I'm prepping for godmother duties then. Jessica chuckled, teasing me. But her laughter abruptly ceased as she pointed at her headphones. "Wait, is that David? His mic's open. Warn him." I rushed to my laptop. Sure enough, amidst the TA's explanation of a complex equation, I could faintly hear David humming a tune, and, was that the sound of running water? David? The TA's voice, a little hesitant, cut through the virtual classroom. "David, could you please mute your microphone?" No response. David probably had his phone volume down and tossed it aside. I grabbed my own phone, ready to call him. Before I could dial, a series of unmistakable sounds pierced through the lecture. My hand froze midair. Beside me, Jessica's face paled. The TA's explanation faltered, then stopped altogether. An eerie silence descended upon the virtual classroom. Then, Jessica's phone began buzzing incessantly. Our classmates, those in the know, had already formed a separate chat group. "OMG, what is happening? Is David, seriously? In broad daylight? Playing it loud and proud? Guys, they're practically married, give them a break." Suddenly, someone tagged Jessica's name in the chat. "Jess, isn't Emily your roommate? Maybe, don't tell her? This is beyond embarrassing. No one could handle that kind of public humiliation." Messages flooded the group, one after another. New members were rapidly added. Within minutes, the group swelled to over 100. Jessica stared at me, speechless, a mixture of horror and pity in her eyes. "Wait a minute," someone typed, hesitantly. "Isn't that Tiffany's voice? OMG. What?" The audio in the background had shifted. The activity had ceased. Then, a sweet, sugary voice filled the digital space. "Was I good? Better than Emily?" David's voice, laced with affection, followed. "Of course, you're always better." Silence descended on the group chat again, heavier this time. The unexpected twist had stunned everyone into stunned silence. The TA, older than us, a PhD candidate under our professor, had the authority to end the meeting instantly. Yet, she remained frozen, probably as dumbfounded as we were. My hands and feet were ice cold, yet my mind was racing. I recognized the girl's voice. Tiffany. My sorority sister, the one I'd considered almost a little sister. "You know you like me more," Tiffany whined playfully, "so why are you still with her?" David chuckled, a dismissive sound. "And what? You gonna find me a job? Sort out my residency permit?" Tiffany giggled, unfazed. "Doesn't matter. We can still do this even after you're married. I don't mind." Just be careful, Tiffany added, her tone dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. Don't get caught. I don't want to fall out with Emily. She's so nice to me. I was just mentioning how I've never owned a designer bag, and she promised to get me one for my birthday. Sucker, David muttered, a hint of derision in his voice. You don't find many like her. Exactly. You're so lucky, David. Gotta seize the opportunity, skip 20 years of hard work. They dissolved into laughter, their voices echoing in the virtual classroom graveyard. The chat group remained a digital tomb. I took a deep breath, another, and another, as if drawing in more air could somehow restore a semblance of composure. I whispered to Jessica, add me to the group. My name appeared in the chat. Silence again. Then, my closest friend, Olivia, typed first. Emily, are you okay? My entire dorm thinks he's trash, Olivia's boyfriend, Mark, chimed in. Mark's dormmates followed suit. Seriously, when David gets back to the dorm, we're gonna beat him up for you. He's embarrassing all of us guys, another added. The messages escalated, fueled by righteous anger. I typed calmly, TA, could you please end the meeting? The TA, also in the chat group, responded within seconds. The meeting abruptly ended. Thank you, everyone. I'd really appreciate it if everyone could just pretend this didn't happen. My friends erupted. Emily, you can't be serious. You're not just going to sweep this under the rug, are you? You're only engaged. Yes, it's a loss, but marriage would be 1,000 times worse. Once a cheater, always a cheater. I pressed the voice message button, speaking softly, but firmly. I won't marry him. But I'm not breaking up with him right now either. Everything he's taken from me over these years, he's going to pay it all back, piece by piece. 10 minutes before class ended, David finally picked up his phone, intending to sign the attendance sheet, only to find the meeting had ended. Prematurely. Missed calls from me flashed on the screen. He immediately called me back, his voice betraying a hint of nervousness and cautious probing. Why did class end early? He asked, his tone carefully casual. And why were you calling me in the middle of the lecture? I tried to sound as nonchalant as possible. The TA wasn't feeling well, so she wrapped things up early. And the call? Oh, nothing really. Just wondering if you wanted to grab Korean barbecue after class. I could hear the relief in David's voice, though a sliver of suspicion still lingered. I have to finish this internship application test today. Let's do barbecue tomorrow, okay? Be good. I feigned a gentle complaint and hung up. Speaking of internships, David's coveted position at a top securities firm was another favor courtesy of my father. David, still slightly uneasy, reached out to the TA. Professor assistant, are you feeling better? He typed, testing the waters, seeing if my story held up. The TA, bless her soul, was already in on my plan. Her reply was perfectly crafted. Feeling much better after a nap. If you have any questions on today's problems, feel free to ask me privately later. She screenshotted the chat and sent it to me. David should be convinced now. I stared at my phone, calmly replying, no, not quite yet. David was heading back to his dorm. He would definitely seek confirmation from his 3 roommates. One of them was dating Olivia, and he had already discreetly recorded a voice clip for me. Sure enough, as soon as David walked into their dorm room, he probed, hey, no attendance check-in tutorial today, right? Huh? Nope, one roommate mumbled, engrossed in a video game. Another was reading a novel, and the third was pretending to doze. All putting on an act of indifference. As soon as David left the room, they all sprang to life, energized and indignant. What a piece of garbage. Don't even invite him to basketball anymore. Girls will think we're all like him. Their acting was flawless. David, completely oblivious, was thoroughly convinced nothing out of the ordinary had happened. Even less perceptive was Tiffany. She invited me to her birthday party. The reason was transparent, she had been drooling over my Chanel bag for weeks, alternating between envy and self-pity, until I, out of a moment of weakness, promised to gift her one. Her birthday party was simply a thinly veiled attempt to expedite my promised present. I accepted the invitation. Tiffany's birthday arrived quickly. The girl was a true social butterfly, inviting practically the entire year group to her celebration. The night before the party, I casually mentioned to David, "Tiffany's having a birthday party tomorrow. Plus ones are welcome. Why don't you come with me?" David's expression flickered, a subtle hesitation. But he quickly recovered, feigning indifference. "Your sorority sister's party? Why would I intrude? You've met her. Tiffany, from the cheerleading squad, remember? She's stunning." David frowned, pretending to rack his memory. "Oh, right, vaguely remember. What a performance," I thought, a cold smile forming in my mind. David still tried to decline, but I immediately adopted a sulky tone. "What, you can't even do this much for me?" David was on tenterhooks about his upcoming interview with the securities firm. I had already let him know that the female executive in charge of interviews was a friend of my father's, practically my godmother. He definitely didn't want to risk upsetting me at this crucial juncture. Reluctantly, he agreed to accompany me. The day of Tiffany's birthday party, I arrived, David dutifully by my side, and walked straight up to Tiffany. Our classmates, a sea of faces, surrounded us, probably thinking they were witnessing the most dramatic real-life soap opera ever. Tiffany beamed at me, her smile dripping with saccharine sweetness. "Emily. You're here. Did you bring my present?" I smiled back, then smoothly pushed David forward, placing him directly in front of Tiffany. "Here's your present." A collective gasp rippled through the room. Tiffany and David's faces mirrored each other, a perfect shade of pale shock. I savored their mortified expressions for a blissful 2 seconds, then a slow smile curled my lips. Casually, I patted David's shoulder. "What are you waiting for? The gift bag I asked you to carry? It's in there." David, who had momentarily lost all color, visibly relaxed, grabbing the Chanel shopping bag and handing it to Tiffany. "Emily's always talking about you," David said, forcing a polite, aloof senior student smile. Tiffany accepted the bag, her eyes wide and sparkling. "Thank you. I'm always hearing about you from Emily too." They must have thought their acting was Oscar-worthy. The onlookers collectively averted their gazes, a silent chorus of second-hand embarrassment. Jessica quietly pulled me aside. "Did you really buy Tiffany a Chanel?" I chuckled. "Fake." Jessica sighed dramatically. "No one here actually came for her birthday. We're all just here for the show." Couldn't have said it better myself. A modern campus drama, starring Tiffany as the leading lady, and David, the invisible leading man. Despite everyone's best efforts to subtly observe, David still sensed the attention. He sidled up to me. "Have you noticed? A lot of girls are looking at me." Thankfully, I had a ready response prepared. I laughed, batting my eyelashes. "Well, you're looking extra handsome today, aren't you?" David, as always, possessed an inflated sense of his own charm. And why wouldn't he? He had a wealthy girlfriend who was his personal ATM, and a campus it girl willing to be his secret side piece. His ego was probably stratospheric. Sure enough, David preened, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. "Having a boyfriend this handsome, you should be worried someone might steal me away if you're not good enough to me." I saw a nearby guy, who'd been taking a swig of beer, suddenly choke and spray it out. "What's wrong with you?" David frowned, annoyed, wiping droplets off his shirt. "Almost got my shirt wet." Sorry, the guy wheezed, fighting back laughter, rushing towards the restroom. Suddenly felt a bit nauseous. David watched him go, then turned back to me, slightly disgruntled. "You know, it's not just girls who are catty. Guys get jealous too." "Oh yes, David," I thought, internally rolling my eyes. "Every girl on earth is scheming to win your affection. And every guy is green with envy." I plastered on a sweet smile. "Of course, honey." After placating David, I slipped away, checking my phone. Hundreds of new messages in the group chat. "Cars here, drivers waiting at the restaurant entrance," messaged my rich, playboy cousin, Mark. "Fong Wan, when is your cousin arriving exactly?" asked the TA. "He's at the door now," Jessica replied, using my Chinese name, Fong Wan. "Okay. Operation Maserati is a go." The chat exploded with celebratory emojis. As the birthday party wound down, I took David's arm, making our exit. Tiffany and the rest of the group spilled out of the restaurant shortly after, just as a sleek Maserati almost clipped Tiffany. A tall, strikingly handsome young man emerged from the car, looking like he'd stepped straight out of a K-drama. He profusely apologized, insisting on taking Tiffany to the hospital to get checked out. Tiffany, who was perfectly fine, practically leaped into the passenger seat of the Maserati. "You should have seen it," Jessica recounted later, shaking her head. "The way she turned on the waterworks and played the damsel in distress. We were all fighting to keep from throwing up on the spot." I smiled. This is just Act 1. The real show is just getting started. Of course, not everyone was a master of deception. Take David's student union vice president, for example. During midterms, the student union's list of outstanding members was released. David was shocked to find his name missing. He stormed off to confront the VP, who happened to be the TA's roommate. Having already heard about David's online escapade from the TA, and possessing a notoriously fiery temper, she didn't mince words. When David demanded to know why he wasn't on the list, she simply retorted, "Outstanding members need to excel in all aspects: academics, character, physical fitness, aesthetics, and leadership. You don't qualify." The TA, witnessing the exchange, frantically messaged me, "OMG, I couldn't stop her. Her temper is insane. Did we blow our cover?" "Don't panic." What was David's reaction when he left? "Fuming." "Then we're fine," I replied, confidently. I knew David's ego would rewrite the narrative to fit his own delusions. Sure enough, David brought up the VP incident when we had dinner. "It's blatant retaliation," David seethed, stabbing his rice bowl with his chopsticks. "She used to chase after me relentlessly last year. I rejected her, and now she's holding a grudge." "Emily, you're quite close to the student union president, aren't you?" David continued, turning on the charm. "Could you maybe talk to her? Tell her about the VP's abuse of power? After all, getting outstanding member status adds points to my overall evaluation score. I'm suffering for you by rejecting the VP." "Emily? Emily?" I snapped out of my thoughts, feigning concern. "Of course, no problem," I agreed, readily. Just yesterday, at our usual restaurant, the owner had confided in me that David always came back to request invoices after I paid the bill and left. I hadn't quite figured out why, but David's student union trouble suddenly clicked. Tiffany's drama needed time to unfold. Maybe I should deal with David's student union shenanigans first. I immediately called the student union president, a friendly classmate from an elective course. We were on good terms. She listened to my fabricated story, then chuckled. "Got it." The next day, at the student union's general meeting, the president announced a crackdown on student officers misusing activity funds and embezzling special project funds. David, ashen-faced, showed up at my dorm building, grabbing my arm. "What did you tell the president?" I blinked innocently. "Just asked her to look into the VP. You see, if the VP is removing your award nomination just because you rejected her advances, she's clearly abusing her power and probably doing other shady things. She needs to be investigated." David's face flushed crimson, then paled again. A week later, David's embezzlement of funds and abuse of power were thoroughly exposed. He was expelled from the student union and received a major demerit from the university. As he was publicly reprimanded, the president and VP were clinking glasses in my family's private bar. "Sorry, Emily," the VP said to me, a little sheepishly. "I did actually pursue him before. But I didn't really know anyone in your department, and David always acted single." She trailed off. It dawned on me then, his social media posts with me were probably all selectively filtered. "I stopped contacting him after I realized he had a girlfriend," the VP continued. I patted her shoulder. "No need to apologize. You dodged a bullet." The president, peeling salted peanuts, grinned. "You two should toast to that." I raised my glass to the VP. "Cheers to dodging scumbags." The VP laughed, clinking her glass against mine. "And cheers to you for getting rid of one soon." We both downed our cold beers. The VP put down her glass, suddenly remembering something. "Oh, Emily, be careful. After a hit like this, David might get violent." "Don't worry. He wouldn't dare." A demerit on his academic record? "His job prospects are pretty bleak now," I scoffed. "His only lifeline is me now." Predictably, David didn't blame me at all. Instead, he became incredibly attentive, showering me with affection. After all, his internship at the top securities firm was firmly in my grasp. News of his expulsion from the student union and the public reprimand had spread like wildfire across campus. David's reputation plummeted. The girls who once fawned over him as a charming and successful senior scattered like leaves in the wind. David was deeply dejected. He desperately needed comfort, and he sought it from Tiffany. Tiffany did come to him, but not for the reunion he expected. Her opening line was a demand, "I need a Hermes bag." David was stunned. But I, having secretly checked his computer and seen their chat logs, was not surprised in the slightest. It was all part of my plan. The old David, the one who was handsome and promising, was now a relic. Tiffany had found a far more appealing prospect. She was head over heels for the handsome, Maserati-driving rich kid. David was merely an average guy with some decent looks. The new guy, on the other hand, seemed to have stepped straight out of a K-drama. He was wealthy, incredibly good-looking, charming, witty, and attentive. He had even told Tiffany, despite his young age, that he was looking to settle down and start a family soon. I could practically read Tiffany's mind. Marry this rich guy, and she would be instantly catapulted into a life of luxury. She would pay any price for that ascent. During their first meeting, Tiffany had carried the fake Chanel bag I gifted her. The rich guy had naturally assumed she came from a wealthy background. He repeatedly told Tiffany, "I only buy Hermes for girls who carry Hermes. My family also expects me to marry someone from a similar social standing. Could you come to dinner at my place this Saturday? I told my parents I've met a girl I really like. They want to meet you." An opportunity to leap up the social ladder was within arm's reach. Who wouldn't go crazy for that? Tiffany's first thought was to exploit me. She wheedled and pleaded, asking to borrow my clothes and bags. But I, already well informed, remained steadfast. I expressed my dislike of lending my belongings, refusing her requests, no matter how hard she tried to persuade me. I could sense Tiffany's resentment growing. Revenge from Tiffany could wait. Tomorrow was Saturday. She needed to secure a full heiress ensemble today to transform herself into a prospective daughter-in-law of a wealthy family. So, she turned to David. David was aghast. "You want me to get Emily's bag? She'll notice." Tiffany was beyond caring. "If you don't, I'll tell Emily everything right now. Then, let's see if your job, your residency permit, your future, will still be secure." David wanted to curse Tiffany, but didn't dare. Finally, he choked out, "I'll give you the key to our apartment. Go get it yourself." David and I had rented an apartment off campus. After the online lecture incident, I had been avoiding any physical contact with David, and hadn't been to the apartment in ages. David figured Tiffany could borrow the items on Friday and return them by Sunday. I wouldn't be the wiser. So, on Friday evening, Tiffany, armed with the key David provided, entered my walk-in closet. If I were Tiffany, I might have borrowed a dress at most. But Tiffany's greed was far greater. She helped herself to a Chanel tweed suit, a pair of Van Cleef & Arpels Alhambra earrings, a Cartier love bracelet, and, of course, an Hermes Birkin bag. Loaded with her loot, Tiffany strolled out of the apartment, pleased as punch. Only to run straight into me downstairs, face to face. Standing beside me were several of my close girlfriends. Jessica immediately exclaimed upon seeing her, well, if it isn't Tiffany." "Is that an Hermes bag you're carrying?" another friend chimed in, playing her part perfectly. She turned to me with exaggerated surprise. "Emily, don't you have one just like it?" "Hey, and isn't that your suit too, Emily? The one I helped you pick out?" Olivia added, her voice dripping with faux innocence. Tiffany froze, rooted to the spot. I walked towards her. I knew Tiffany wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but I hadn't realized just how dull she truly was. Facing me, Tiffany's first instinct wasn't to explain, wasn't to apologize, but to run. Well, that settled everything. Any sliver of doubt vanished. That single action screamed guilt. Jessica and I exchanged a look. We were, after all, the top two finishers in the women's 100-meter sprint at the school sports meet. 30 seconds later, Tiffany was pinned firmly to the ground by me, while Jessica was already on the phone with the police. The total value of the stolen items exceeded $30,000. The evidence was overwhelming, the act brazen. At the police station, Tiffany dissolved into tears, claiming that it was all a misunderstanding, that she and David had agreed she was just borrowing, not stealing. I called David. He arrived at the station. I watched him in silence. After 6 years together, I genuinely wanted to know, deep down, what David would choose. When I saw the carefully crafted expression of innocence and shock spreading across his face, a dull ache resonated in my heart. This man was worse than I had imagined. He was willing to throw Tiffany to the wolves to save his own skin. As expected, David vehemently denied everything. He claimed his keys had been stolen, that he barely knew Tiffany, having only met her a few times, and that he had absolutely no knowledge of any of this. Tiffany snapped. "David, are you even human?" She turned to me, eyes bloodshot. "Emily. I'm telling you, David and I have been together since last year. He told me he was only with you for your money." David paled. He stepped towards me, his lips trembling. "Emily, is your sorority sister crazy? I don't understand a word she's saying." A police officer turned to Tiffany. "You said David gave you the keys. Do you have any proof?" "Yes, of course." Tiffany fumbled for her phone, shakily opening WeChat. Then, she froze. Her body began to tremble. She stared at David, a piercing scream tearing from her throat. Lunging at him, she shrieked, You planned this all along. You told me to delete." 2 officers quickly restrained her, Tiffany collapsing into a sobbing heap. I understood. I could picture exactly what David had said to Tiffany. "Since you're about to hook up with a rich guy, you should delete our chat history, just in case your future boyfriend sees it." From the moment he was threatened by Tiffany and decided to give her the key, David had been preparing his escape route. This man was far more ruthless, more heartless, than I had ever given him credit for. At that moment, he turned to me, his gaze filled with manufactured sincerity and innocence. "I've only ever loved you, Emily." Suppressing a wave of nausea, I forced a smile. "I believe you." "David," I thought, "your reckoning is yet to come." I indicated to the police that I was willing to settle out of court. However, upon returning to campus, Tiffany was still expelled. Apparently, David had reported her arrest to the university authorities. He couldn't tolerate Tiffany remaining on campus, a potential time bomb threatening to expose him further. Of course, Tiffany never saw her Maserati Prince Charming again. The Maserati belonged to my cousin Mark's family, and the rich kid himself was Jessica's cousin, a drama major and campus heartthrob, putting on a show. Tiffany wasn't a good person, but I knew, with absolute certainty, that David was far worse. Yet, at that moment, David showed no sign of his true nature. He treated me like royalty, striving to become the boyfriend of the century. On the day he received his acceptance for the securities firm internship, David and I went out to celebrate. He had a little to drink and confessed, with theatrical emotion, "Emily, you're the only one who's ever been truly good to me." Looking into his earnest eyes, I wavered, just for a second. But only for a second. Instinct told me a wolf doesn't change its nature just because of the shepherd's kindness. David soon confirmed my intuition. We both started our internships at the same company, even assigned to the same team. During orientation, a girl joined our group who radiated an unmistakable aura of privilege, a relaxed confidence that spoke of a pampered upbringing. It didn't take long for the interns to uncover her identity. She was Tiffany Tang, the only daughter of the company's CEO. David had been sitting next to me, but when he noticed the empty seat beside Tiffany Tang, he excused himself to use the restroom. He returned to conveniently occupy the vacant spot next to her. I sneered inwardly, diligently taking notes. David looked down on Tiffany, but he himself was even more opportunistic than she was. After starting the internship, I focused intently on my work, consistently the last to leave the office each day. I pretended not to notice David's blatant attempts to ingratiate himself with Tiffany. Tiffany, for her part, seemed interested in David. Soon, she started offering to get him a milk tea during afternoon breaks. Within 2 weeks, David's roommate forwarded me a chat log from their dorm group. It was David boasting, "Unbelievable, the dating scene's getting wilder. Even the CEO's daughter is coming on strong." Underneath the feigned complaint was thinly veiled smugness. One roommate, unimpressed, retorted, "She hasn't confessed anything." David didn't hold back. "Don't be sour grapes. Seriously, a grown woman adds you on WeChat, chats you up, buys you drinks, you think she just wants to be just friends?" I almost laughed out loud at the chat logs. Tiffany asked David what kind of novels he enjoyed. David replied he disliked frivolous fiction, preferring to read political and economic treatises daily. Tiffany asked if he'd seen the latest blockbuster movie. David scoffed, saying he never watched commercial films, only independent art house cinema. I'm ashamed I ever liked such a pretentious poser, I thought. Clearly, with the CEO's daughter showing interest, David's ego, bruised by Tiffany's gold-digging act, was fully inflated again. He felt on top of the world. He started neglecting his work. During team meetings, when the supervisor criticized his performance, he would feign concern, but he was too far behind. He hadn't learned the fundamentals, and the mountains of Excel spreadsheets looked like ancient hieroglyphics to him. He asked if I could help him with some tasks. I immediately played the victim, claiming I was drowning in my own workload. By the last month of the internship, David had clearly given up. He clocked in daily, but his main purpose was to see Tiffany. Every time I saw Tiffany and David laughing together in the break room, I sighed internally, recalling the old fable of the cowherd and the woodcutter, both equally mismatched. One Friday evening, I changed out of my business suit, donned a baseball cap and mask, and went to a Japanese restaurant near the office. Tiffany and David were already there, dining together. I sat down at a table behind a screen, within earshot, sipping my drink and listening. David was sounding increasingly anxious. "What do you mean, there's only one spot for a full-time offer?" Tiffany, "Yeah, it's inside information from my dad. Don't spread it around, okay?" David, "There are 3 interns on our team. Only one can stay." Tiffany, "Are you planning to stay?" Tiffany, "Of course not, my dad just wants me to get some experience. So, the spot will definitely be either you or Emily." David breathed a sigh of relief. "That's good." Tiffany, "Could you maybe talk to your dad?" Tiffany, "I could, but full-time offers aren't a joke, there's a whole approval process. Your work and Emily's are miles apart." David, What do you mean?" Tiffany, "Haven't you noticed? While we're chatting over milk tea, Emily's always working. I glanced at her desk the other day, her industry research data analysis is practically done." David, "But Tiffany, your dad." Tiffany, "If your work was comparable, maybe my dad could pull some strings. But the gap is so huge, even he can't force it." David was silent for a long time. Finally, he mumbled, "I understand. But Tiffany, you should still talk to your dad, just in case. I'll figure something else out." David left. Once his footsteps faded completely, Tiffany pulled back the screen and sat opposite me. She nonchalantly picked up my chopsticks, grabbing a piece of salmon and popping it into her mouth. "Well? How was your girl Tiffany's performance?" I gave her a thumbs up. "Totally exhausted me," Tiffany complained, devouring the salmon. Pretending to like him was so gross. I rolled my eyes. I had other plans to deal with him. "You're the one who got all excited when you heard we were interning at your dad's company, insisting on playing this role. Your acting bug is impossible to control. What else could I do? Watch my bestie get played by a scumbag for 6 years and do nothing?" Tiffany grabbed my sake cup and downed it in one gulp. "Do you think David will do something drastic?" I smiled. "Trust me, he will. He's got an ego bigger than the sky. Someone else getting a better job than him? That's worse than killing him. But with that demerit on his record and his trashed reputation on campus, any HR department doing a background check will see it. What decent company would hire him?" Tiffany questioned. "This company is his last chance. He got the internship through me, and now he's trying to get the full-time offer through you, using women as stepping stones, climbing step by step, absolutely refusing to fall at the final hurdle." The following Saturday, Tiffany came to my house for dinner. Midway through the meal, her phone rang. Tiffany answered, and within seconds, her gaze snapped to me. I calmly put down my chopsticks, knowing my plan had succeeded. "If your work was comparable." Tiffany's words were David's last straw. Next Monday was the deadline. He couldn't possibly replicate months of my work in just 2 days. that left only one option: to make me lose my work too. My industry research data analysis was all saved on my personal computer. If I submitted it on Monday, the outcome was clear. But if the data vanished, chaos would ensue, and in that chaos, David saw an opportunity to maneuver. So, on Saturday, a day when no one was supposed to be at the office, David sneaked into the building and turned on my computer. And was promptly apprehended by security. Whose fault was it? He could only blame himself for being too preoccupied with flirting with Tiffany during orientation to pay attention to the rules. Had he been listening, he would have known two crucial things. First, all work product, data, code, written analysis, belonged to the company. Second, every workstation was under surveillance. And the data he deleted? I had already backed it up. The company filed a lawsuit against David, demanding compensation for damages, a sum astronomical for David, plunging him into despair. He desperately sought help from Tiffany, but Tiffany, disgusted by David's "if I can't have it, no one can" mentality, wanted nothing more to do with him, blocking him on WeChat. Perhaps driven to desperation, or clinging to a last shred of hope, David, in a bizarre twist, turned to me as his final lifeline. After all, I had played the role of the oblivious, weak, and blindly trusting girlfriend for so long. He sobbed, telling me he had only wanted to look at the files on my computer, accidentally hitting the delete button. "We're going to get married, your things are mine are yours, whether you get the offer. Or I get the offer, it's the same, isn't it? How could I ever want to hurt you?" he wept with manufactured sincerity. "Emily, you have to believe me, believe in my love for you. I have nothing left but you." I helped David up. "Next week is your birthday. No matter what, let's celebrate your birthday first." During our honeymoon phase, David and I had created a joint social media account, documenting our daily lives. As we were both from prestigious universities and reasonably attractive, we'd even gained some online fame as academic power couple, amassing a decent following. In recent months, the account had been dormant. Fans had been clamoring for updates. When I announced a live-streamed birthday party for David, anticipation surged. David's birthday was celebrated at our rented apartment. All our mutual friends were invited. I set up the live-streaming camera. Today is David's 25th birthday. First, happy birthday to him. And for this special day, I have 3 gifts for David. David's face lit up with anticipation. For past birthdays, I had gifted him designer suits, jeweled cufflinks. He had even hinted he wanted a car this year. I turned on the projector. A flicker of disappointment crossed David's eyes. Once, for his birthday, I had spent 2 weeks creating a meticulously crafted video montage of our memories as a birthday gift. Many friends were moved to tears, but David had sulked for days, calling the gift childish. I hadn't understood why he disliked it then. Now, I finally did. Because my heartfelt gesture was worthless to him. In David's world, gifts had lost their sentimental value, becoming mere tools for extracting wealth from me. No matter, David, I thought. The gifts I have for you today will be unforgettable. The projector illuminated the wall. The first birthday gift is called Chat Logs. I displayed the chat history of David boasting about Tiffany Tang's advances in their dorm group on the large screen. Of course, I had censored any personally identifiable information. But everyone could clearly see the smug self-satisfaction dripping from every word. "Emily, what are you doing?" David stared at me in disbelief. I acted as if I hadn't heard him, coldly pressing the remote control. The next birthday gift is called Office Surveillance Footage. Don't worry, David, I thought, each gift will be even more explosive than the last. The office surveillance video began playing on the screen. Everyone watched as David approached the workstation labeled Emily, turned on the computer, entered the password, located my work files, and pressed delete. I began to speak, my voice soft and filled with feigned sorrow. "David, do you know? I actually left you a way out. The computer password was your birthday. When you cracked the password, you felt even a flicker of emotion, a hint of hesitation, remembering our 6 years together, you wouldn't have gone down this path. But you didn't. I bet you were just gloating over your cleverness and my foolishness. When you deleted my files, you didn't hesitate for a second." David lunged forward. He knew if the live stream continued, it would be his social execution. but I was prepared. I had briefed everyone beforehand. 2 male friends instantly grabbed him, one on each side. David, I have a question for you. In the 6 years we've been together, how many times have you cheated on me? The livestream camera was inches away, the viewer count climbing rapidly. David gritted his teeth, making a last-ditch effort. No, Emily, I don't know why. You're doing this to me. I explained about the company incident. It was an accident, I didn't mean to. You hate me, you don't have to take revenge like this. I cut him off. Okay, then please accept my final gift. With a sense of grim satisfaction, and a touch of cruelty, I pressed play. Online lecture recording. David, restrained by the 2 friends, went still when he heard online lecture recording. A brief flicker of confusion, then blankness, washed over his face. The recording progress bar advanced across the screen, the TA's lecture droning on. He didn't understand why I was playing this. He had forgotten. In his memory, there must have been countless times he'd met up with other girls, narrowly avoiding getting caught. That online lecture was just another unremarkable instance among many, completely erased from his mind. The sound of running water filled the room. A shower running. David's face drained of all color. He began to struggle violently. Emily. You knew all along. You've been playing me. Yes, I knew all along, I said coldly, staring at the man contorted with rage. He was so ugly, so repulsive, a far cry from the gentle, handsome man I had first met. I need to thank you. Thank you for forgetting to mute your microphone that day. It allowed me to finally see what kind of person you truly are. David roared, again and again. He broke free from the grasp of my friends and lunged at me, amidst screams, grabbing a candlestick and swinging it towards me. I sidestepped. The candlestick whizzed past, crashing into the wall. David stood frozen, a grotesque smile spreading across his face. Emily, you've ruined my life. I will never forgive you, never, he shrieked. He seemed to have completely lost his mind. Suddenly, he ripped off his jacket and bolted out the door. Worried he might do something crazy, our friends rushed out after him. I followed, watching as David ran out of the apartment complex and into the street. He turned back, screaming at me, I will never forgive you. You bitch. What goes around comes around. You just wait. The next second, a car turning the corner struck him, sending him flying. The live stream from that day caused a massive sensation online. But in the age of internet news cycles, stories are fleeting. Soon, newer scandals stole the spotlight. After graduation, I dedicated myself to my career, earning 2 promotions in 3 years, setting a company record. My parents were overjoyed, my friends proud. Later, I heard news about Tiffany. A mutual acquaintance told me Tiffany was frequenting shady bars, trying to freeload drinks. She had even gotten beaten up by a middle-aged businessman's wife for pestering him to buy her a new phone. The acquaintance showed me a photo of her. Despite being a year younger than me, excessive drinking, smoking, and heavy makeup made her look much older. David didn't die. He survived, but confined to a wheelchair. Perhaps due to brain damage from the accident, his mental state deteriorated. He could be seen pushing his wheelchair around the streets daily. If a woman so much as glanced at him, he would chase after her, asking if she liked him. When my friend told me all this, I simply said, whatever happens to him now, it has nothing to do with me anymore. In life, we will encounter betrayal, deception, and hurt. Naturally, we crave revenge. There's nothing wrong with that. But more important than revenge is starting a new life. I still hold on to my belief in love, my courage to love. Having seen life's true colors, I still choose to embrace it. Jessica's cousin, the former drama student, had been finding excuses to have dinner with me lately. The once campus heartthrob had blossomed into a respected character actor, yet he was always slightly tentative around me. He asked when the wounds from past love would heal, and if, once healed, it would be okay to start a new relationship. I thought about it seriously and told him, love has never hurt me. It's the bad people I encountered in love that hurt me. But bad people shouldn't be the reason we blame love itself. As for when you can start a new relationship, I shrugged. When fate arrives, you start. Before I could finish, Jessica's cousin jumped up. Wait for me. 10 minutes later, he came rushing back, a huge bouquet of roses in his arms, his face as red as the flowers. Then, how about we start now? I smiled. I still believed in the world's kindness. And believed that though we may be weary travelers, you and I will eventually find our way home. The end.